Hello and welcome to Thursday's Look North. In tonight's headlines, the 5-year-old boy who's become a BMX champion while fighting a rare genetic disease. Brexit could cost the North jobs, the warning from the head of the TUC during a visit to Teesside. Plans for a cycle hub near one of our coastal landmarks come under fire. Opponents say it'll spoil the peace and quiet. And keeping her shipshape, funding secured to preserve an important piece of maritime history.
In sport, how did a Cumbrian swimmer get on at the World Championships in Budapest? And the 37-year-old comeback kid on the stubborn streak that helped him get back amongst the medals.
He's a BMX champion. He's just 5 years old and he only took up the sport 9 months ago. For Jack Stansell from Battle Hill in North Tyneside, it's in the blood. His dad George was a speedway rider with Newcastle Diamonds and his grandfather was a 9 times World Speedway finalist. But Jack's achievements are all the more amazing because he's fighting a rare genetic condition. To watch him hurtling around the humps and bumps of Bedlington's Gallagher Park, you'd never guess Jack Stansell was different to any other BMXer. But once a month, the helmet comes off, the bike is locked away, and Mum Lauren takes him to the children's ward at Newcastle's Royal Victoria Infirmary. Older sister Mia has come along as well for a 4-hour session to boost Jack's immune system.
Jack's got X-linked amyoglobulinemia, which is a condition where his immune system hasn't developed, and it's been passed through a gene that is lacking from myself. It was found out through my grandmother, who had 2 young boys that both unfortunately got to the age of 2 and both passed away.
So this sort of treatment is essential, it's life-saving, is it?
It is, yeah. Without the treatment, Jack would be constantly in and out of hospital. He'd be on intravenous antibiotics all the time. This trying to prevent him getting infections and any kind of illnesses. He still gets them. He still has to have the kind of odd admission into hospital for intravenous antibiotics, but they have changed and lowered probably dramatically since we've started the consistent medication every 3 weeks. You know, all the nurses are just so friendly and make it so much easier for us to come and welcome him, really.
Do you mind coming to hospital every so often?
Sometimes.
What do you get to do when you come in here?
Play.
Jack's condition, known as XLA for short, affects around 1 in 200,000.
It is a rare one, yes. We give this for low immunity, but Jack's got quite a rare one, so he needs it quite often. They need to be hooked up to a machine so it's where they can sit still, and obviously it's quite traumatic the first couple of times, getting the needle and all that. So he's done very well where he is at the minute.
It's likely Jack will need this sort of treatment for the rest of his life, but it certainly hasn't slowed him down as he tries to follow in the tyre tracks of his speedway rider dad.
Loves to be out and about. He's on a bike all the time.
And what he can do shows other youngsters what can be done.
Yes, he doesn't lie down to anything. It takes a lot to get him to stop, and it doesn't happen very often. Even when he's low, he'll still go on a bike. Might not be so happy going to school, but he'll still go on a bike.
More news now, and a Wearside man found with serious injuries in a field near a Northumberland beauty spot has died in hospital. 24-year-old Darren Bonner of Palmstead Road in Pennywell was found near Cresswell just over a fortnight ago. 2 people have been charged with attempted murder, 33-year-old Richard Spottiswoode and 29-year-old Lucy Byrne, who are both from South Shields. 2 High Court judges have been told that tax officials had no reasonable grounds for believing Newcastle United was engaged in tax fraud. The Magpies are challenging a search and seizure order obtained by HM Revenue and Customs investigating the financial affairs of several football clubs. Newcastle's managing director Lee Charnley was among a number of senior European football officials arrested and later released without charge. A lawyer acting for the club said the warrants were excessively wide and claimed other methods were available for obtaining information. The hearing is expected to last 2 days. A Cumbrian man accused of sexually assaulting a young girl has told a court he looked up stories of child abuse on the internet out of curiosity and concern. David Harrison, who's 26 and worked as a teacher, was given evidence on the third day of his trial at Carlisle Crown Court. From there, Mark McAlinden reports.
This morning, David Harrison went into the witness box for the first time. Asked by his defence barrister if, as alleged, he'd ever put his hands down the young girl's top or touched her inappropriately, he said no. Mr Harrison, described in court as a man of good character, was also asked about his use of the internet. He conceded that he had looked up real-life stories of the sexual abuse of children. Asked for an explanation, he said it was out of curiosity and concern. But later, under cross-examination, it was put to him that he was lying and that he did have a sexual interest in children. Again, Mr Harrison replied no, and then no, I don't. David Harrison denies 4 charges of sexually assaulting a girl under the age of 13, and the trial continues. Mark McAlinden, BBC Look North at Carlisle Crown Court.
The head of the Trades Union Congress has used a visit to the North East to warn Brexit could cost local jobs. TUC General Secretary Frances O'Grady was on Teesside. She said uncertainty around Britain's exit from the European Union was cutting investment, and she called on the government to help fill the gap. But the Conservative mayor for the Tees Valley insists the region's economy is already on the up. Our political correspondent Luke Walton has more.
What we're looking at here is, it's just an image of what it is. That's telling us what each element of it is. So if you look on to the...
She's Britain's most senior trade unionist, on Teesside to meet researchers exploring the cutting edge of industry. But the biggest talking point was not technology, but Brexit. The TUC boss fears the uncertainty around it is already putting off investment.
Working people mustn't pay the price of Brexit, and that makes it even more important that we have a strong industrial plan for every corner of the country, particularly areas like Teesside that have been hit hard in the past.
That demand for direction is echoed by staff here. The Materials Processing Institute works with the steel and chemical industries. Both depend on international trade.
We have a lot of companies that are wanting to potentially move into the area. We have a lot of companies that are wanting to either expand or change or improve processes, but without a clear message about the Brexit strategy, what's going to happen, what the trade deals are going to be. A lot of this is actually being held off at the moment.
The former Labour MP for Hartlepool, now head of a regional industry body, is also worried.
That fog of uncertainty does not help investment decisions. Lack of clarity about whether we'll be part of the single market or not, especially for exporting companies like the chemicals industry, is a concern.
Ministers insist the opportunities of Brexit will stoke investment, not dampen it. While Teesside's new Conservative mayor says his government is putting in the help and leadership the area needs.
But over the next 4 years, I've got £453 million to spend as part of the devolution deal that was delivered by this government. And today we're about to agree with Teesside Pension Fund an additional £200 million to invest in local schemes from businesses to infrastructure.
Aren't we at very serious risk through Brexit?
The Tees Valley, for hundreds of years since the start of the Industrial Revolution, have been trading with the world. We have a can-do attitude in this area, and there's no reason why we can't continue to trade with Europe. But a lot of businesses I'm speaking to who are already trading with the rest of the world see it as a huge opportunity to capitalise on.
As Brexit negotiations continue to generate heat, the key question is what kind of economy will be moulded from them. Luke Walton, BBC Look North in Middlesbrough.
A consultation is underway to find out what people think about plans for 2 zip wires across Thirlmere in the Lake District. The company, Treetop Trek, is proposing a scheme for what it describes as a family activity hub, which would also include an 18-kilometre long family-friendly cycleway. It says it's consulting with local bodies and the community on the viability of the proposal. Drink, drug addiction and domestic violence are some of the main reasons given to explain why parents can no longer look after their children. Increasingly, that responsibility goes to grandparents and family members. And on Teesside, more than 2,000 children are raised that way. Well, now a North East charity has donated £100,000 to help support those carers, as well as a luxury caravan, so they can enjoy time away from what can be difficult and hectic lives. Stu Winkup reports.
Kath started looking after 2 children in her family after their parents could no longer care for them.
It's hard at times. I won't say it's not, because it is, but it's very well rewarding.
Holidays were often seen as a luxury that were too expensive, but now they and many other families on Teesside get to enjoy a free week-long stay at the seaside.
Oh, it's absolutely marvellous to come away from Middlesbrough and just come here, and it is lovely here, and to just put everything that goes on in your life at home behind you and just relax and enjoy yourself.
The caravan has been bought by the Teesside Philanthropic Foundation. It's also donated £100,000 to the charity Grandparents Plus to support the relatives who are often left bringing up their children's children.
Grandparents who may be struggling themselves to make ends meet are suddenly looking after children who cost an arm and a leg these days, and to be able to support them financially to allow them to look after children how they want is a massive advantageous position for them to be in.
There are around 2,300 children across Teesside that are being raised by family members because their parents can no longer look after them. And there are many different reasons why this happens.
It can be bereavement in the family, which has led to the children needing to be looked after by a wider family member, drug and alcohol issues, neglect, other forms of abuse, domestic violence. There's a large range of reasons really why children end up or become in kinship care relationship.
Kath says this holiday has allowed her family a chance to relax and has already provided many happy memories for the children. Stuart Wincup, BBC Look North, Filey.
Lovely gesture. Now, volunteers have been working to clear up and repair historic carriages vandalised on the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. 7 of them, which are featured on TV shows including Downton Abbey, were damaged on Sunday. 2 17-year-old boys were arrested and released while the investigation continues. Well, those who run the railway stress it's still open for business, as Heidi Tomlinson reports.
Wrecked, a charming 1935 buffet car which at one time served the Flying Scotsman. Vandals smashed windows, destroyed light fittings and ripped upholstery. But the clear-up's well underway thanks to local volunteers.
When something like this happens, we all come and help. Because if we all help and get this cleared up, then we can get this carriage back to normal and back out online with the rest of our railway that is all running to time at the moment.
The teak carriages in Pickering Station were broken into during what's peak season for the North Yorkshire Moors Railway. The vandals didn't take anything of value, but they've damaged original features which will be very difficult, if not impossible, to replace. Like this 1930s Tian, if you look inside, all the glass is completely shattered.
We will recover from it, we will get over it, but some of the parts on them will be replicas rather than originals. Bear in mind that the cost of restoration of one of these coaches from the starting point is something approaching £100,000 in raw materials and about 15,000 volunteer hours of work on them. So it's a massive amount of work over many years.
Since the break-in, the railway has received donations to help cover the cost of refurbishment. With so many coaches out of action, it's been a challenge to keep the timetable running as normal at such a busy time.
What I am really proud of is the community coming together. We've had building suppliers, paint shops, everyone coming together to say, look, can we help you? Can we do anything at all? Can we even just come down with a paintbrush, gloves, help you clean the glass up? And it's been amazing.
A plan to protect these unique carriages is already underway. In the future, they'll be stored in a locked shed to preserve North Yorkshire's railway heritage. Heidi Tomlinson, BBC Look North, Pickering.
Good to see them fighting back. Now, plans for a cycle hub and cafe near one of our coastal landmarks are facing opposition. Some people are worried it'll spoil the peace and quiet of the area. Developers want to build at the Spanish Battery in Tynemouth, close to the Priory and the Collingwood Monument, where they say it'll be sympathetic to the area and be used by the thousands of cyclists who take on the C2C challenge each year. Alison Freeman is live for us in Tynemouth. Alison.
Yes, Jeff. Well, up until about a minute ago, we were experiencing some lovely evening sunshine here in Tynemouth. It's just gone behind the clouds. Now, despite this mixed bag of weather, we have been seeing a lot of people coming and going from here. And the piece of land we're talking about that the controversy surrounds is this embankment behind me, which the developers say will probably look pretty much the same from the top if the development goes ahead. But opponents say that's not what they're worried about. They're mainly concerned about how it might change the feel of this area. Earlier, I spoke to both people on each side of the argument. The dramatic coastline at Tynemouth, popular with walkers and with cyclists completing the coast-to-coast route from Whitehaven. Now, 3 local men say they want to provide better facilities for those cyclists. A hub which they say will be sympathetically built into the bank below the watch house. It'll offer bike workshops as well as a place to eat, drink and celebrate the achievement of cycling from one side of the country to the other.
I've done the coast to coast a few years ago now, and when I finished, obviously this is the post that you've got, and you know there's nothing here to celebrate it. There's nothing for cyclists in the area. So approximately halfway up the bank, there'll be a deck and viewing terrace, and then you'll see like the glass front coming around there, around the front there.
But not everyone thinks that this is the right place for a hub, and local campaigners say there's growing opposition, with around 2,000 people signing a petition against the development.
We've got the Tynemouth Front Street, which is full of bustling, vibrant bars, restaurants, cafes, which is absolutely fantastic. This here is an area for local residents, for visitors to Tynemouth to come and just take it all in. We've got surrounded by listed buildings. You know, there's very little that's been built here since Victorian times. It's just not a place for commercial enterprise. Not everywhere needs to be developed upon. Sometimes we need to cherish the very things that make these open green spaces, conservation areas so precious to us.
Even if it's not terribly noisy, it's going to affect all this. And I don't think there's anywhere else where you can sit up here, hear the waves, the wind, the seabirds and watch boats coming in and out. And I just think that'll be gone, spoiled.
We fully appreciate that it's not for everybody, you know, but we believe that it's a fantastic area. It's in the best position that it could possibly be. There's nowhere in the area that has the facilities that we're putting in there. No, we're just local people from the area who, you know, we want to invest in something and we want to have a sustainable business, obviously.
Now, we did our own very unscientific poll of people who'd come here today to enjoy the scenery, and some were very much for the development, some were very much against it. Now, people have until the beginning of August to take part in the consultation, and an initial decision is due to take place by the end of that month. Jeff.
OK, Alison, thanks very much. Still to come in tonight's programme, in sport, Mark Tulip talks to one of the region's most successful para-athletes. And coming up next, £250,000 to help preserve a grand old lady of the sea. And I don't mean you, Jen.
This is the pressure chart for the weekend. One day is looking a lot better than the other. Find out which one later in the programme.
No, it's this grand old lady we're talking about. 30 years ago today, Hartlepool took charge of an important piece of maritime history. HMS Trincomalee sailed into what's now known as the National Museum of the Royal Navy. Well, 3 decades on, she's still being lovingly cared for, with £250,000 now being spent on the latest phase of her conservation. Phil Connell reports.
Won't you ferry me over to Dover?
200 years old, she's the centrepiece of Hartlepool's historic dock. HMS Trincomalee is Britain's oldest floating warship, a piece of history that continues to be lovingly restored. This latest phase to recork the ship's weather deck is part of a £250,000 investment.
It is very important to keep everything watertight up here, as it is the roof of the ship, basically. Water getting in will just get down to every deck, and it will get into everything if it gets in up here.
It's exactly 30 years since this iconic ship sailed into Hartlepool, arriving here looking worse for wear. Since then, a 10-year restoration programme has transformed her into a floating museum, and today, at the start of the school summer holidays, she was busier than ever.
As we were pulling up, they saw the mast before we'd even getting into the car park, and they thought it was a pirate ship, and I was like, it's not. And then when we got in,
They were really excited, so we're just about to go on it, aren't we?
It's really good, isn't it? It's interesting.
Yeah, 'cause it's so big.
To celebrate the ship's 30th year in Hartlepool, the museum has new ideas and new attractions planned. The centrepiece of which will be the restoration of the ship's original figurehead, which for 20 years has been out of sight and locked in a store cupboard down on the dock.
It got a lot of weather, obviously, being at the front of the ship. But the figurehead's really important because it's, it's like the soul of the ship, really, and the sailors would often recognise the ship by the figurehead. So it's a really important thing. I think it's really appealing as well.
The ship's said to have survived this long because she's built from teak. This latest investment, though, ensuring that she's fighting fit for the next 200 years. Phil Connell, BBC Look North, Hartlepool.
Hosted children in need on HMS Trincomalee one year, dressed as a pirate, so cold I had to wear tights, and that was the only reason.
I did think you pronounced it very well, I've got to say.
Thank you.
Anyway, watch out for my Hungarian pronunciation in a moment.
Go on then.
Now, Middlesbrough have agreed a deal to sign West Ham forward Ashley Fletcher today. The former Man United youth team player has left the Hammers training camp in Germany for talks with Borough after the two clubs agreed a deal in principle. Just after we went off-air last night, former Borough goalkeeper Jason Steele signed for Sunderland from Blackburn on a 4-year deal. Meanwhile, Everton had completed the signing of highly rated 17-year-old defender Lewis Gibson from Premier League rivals Newcastle for a deal potentially worth a reported £6 million. Now, he's one of our most decorated para-athletes, but even Cramlington's Stephen Miller knew it would be a tough ask to pick up a medal at London's Olympic Stadium 5 years after he suffered one of his biggest career disappointments. He won the bronze by just 74 centimetres from the fourth-placed athlete to add to an already impressive medal haul. At 37, Stephen Miller is entering the category of veteran athlete, but don't mention the R word. Retirement is the last thing on his mind right now. This selection of major championship medals ranges from Paralympic gold 21 years ago in Atlanta to this month's bronze in the club throw event at London's Para-Athletics World Championships.
I'm very stubborn. I don't know when I'm beat, so I always said after London 2012 that wasn't me. I didn't want to go out on that performance, and I knew I wanted to carry on. And then as soon as London got the World Championships, I knew I wanted to go back down into that stadium and do myself justice.
In an unusual move, Stephen's mother and current coach Roz was also presented with a medal.
Yes, after Stephen came off the podium from getting his medal, he came across and presented me with this. The coaches have been presented with a medal, which is a first in 21 years.
A bronze medal's a far cry from Stephen's 11th place in 2012 after he'd postponed hip surgery just to compete in a home Paralympics.
I think because London was such a disappointment to him, he wanted to come back and prove that he was still a great athlete.
Both leading members of Team Miller were at Gateshead Stadium this week for an event organised by Stephen's Smile Through Sport initiative to encourage people to try disability athletics. But he's not quite ready to pass on the baton to the next generation. After an autumn break, he'll be back in training for the 2018 European Championships. Well done, Stephen. Well, our swimmers are currently on the medal quest in Budapest, in Hungary, where the World Championships are in full swing. In the heats of the 200 metres backstroke this morning, Cockermouth's Luke Greenbank came second. His time of just under 1 minute 58 seconds, good enough to qualify 10th fastest out of the 16 who made it to the next round. In basketball, Newcastle Eagles face a huge summer rebuilding job after losing 2 of their top players. Having just lost the services of Scott Martin, they've now seen Ramon Fletcher leave to join the Slovakian club KB Košice. Fletcher has been the British Basketball League's most valuable player for the past 2 seasons. Martin will be playing for a team in the Czech Republic. Finally from me in cricket's T20 Blast competition, mixed fortunes for our 2 sides last night. Despite a last ball 6, Yorkshire beat Durham by 24 runs at Headingley to go 2 points clear at the top of the North Group table. Durham, who've now lost 6 in a row, could only manage 128 for 7 after the Tykes had made 152 for 8. And there was disappointment this morning for Durham and England opener Keaton Jennings, who was out for a duck in the 3rd test against South Africa at the Oval. That's your lot, Jeff.
Mark, thank you very much. Been on and off the cricket today.
It has.
And the weather's been a bit like that for us as well, Jen.
It has been, and it's going to continue to be that way through Friday and through the weekend as well. Very changeable weather at the moment. We've got an unusually strong jet stream which is driving weather systems our way. So over the next couple of days, it looks like we are going to see some further showers. There will be some sunny spells, so not a complete washout, and it is going to be staying quite breezy as well. Now, we had quite a few showers in the forecast today. Some of those were quite heavy. You can see them on the radar picture here, how they moved through in the afternoon. But for many of us into this evening, it's actually become a little bit drier. So a fine end to the day for most of us. Now, that said, there are still a few showers around, and as we head into the night, those showers are going to get heavier and progressively more persistent across parts of Cumbria, especially. Not quite so many of them making it over the Pennines, but still a bit of an unsettled night to come, and not terribly warm either. Temperatures down to between 11 and 13 degrees, quite breezy too. Now, Friday is another story of sunshine and showers. We have been repeating this over the last few days. Quite a few showers in the morning, but they should tend to die away. So I think by Friday afternoon, things will become a little bit drier. So let's take a look at things at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This is Cumbria here. Fairly cloudy, 1 or 2 showers, especially across the fells. Temperatures up to 16 or 17 degrees. I think for the northeast, parts of Northumberland here, we'll still have a few showers, but there will be plenty of dry, sunny spells as well. A bit of a breeze blowing, but in the sunshine it shouldn't be feeling too bad. Now, there is some uncertainty as to an area of rain which is going to be moving in on Friday night. So I'm going to show you this bigger picture here. It's this little weather system which is gradually moving its way northwards. The uncertainty at the moment is towards the northern extent of this, so how far this rain is going to get on Friday night. And this is how things are looking at the moment. It looks like we'll have a sort of fine end to the afternoon, but then this rain is going to edge into southern parts of Cumbria, getting up as far roughly as around North Tyneside before it clears away during Friday night, and then things become dry once again. 12 or 13 degrees, a fairly cloudy night to take us into Saturday. Now, I said a little bit earlier that one of the days of the weekend was looking better than the other, and it is Saturday. It looks like there will be plenty of dry weather in the forecast. Some good spells of sunshine, still a chance of 1 or 2 showers. You can pretty much expect that risk at any point over the next few days. Temperatures up to around 18 or 19 degrees, still with that southwesterly breeze, but that shouldn't be feeling too bad. And then if we take a look at the pressure chart as we move into Sunday, you can still see we have this area of low pressure throwing weather fronts our way. So Sunday, it looks like it's going to be a fairly showery day once again. Some of these showers are going to be quite heavy on Sunday. They could be thundery with some hail as well. And temperatures will be getting up to a high of around 18 degrees. So quite a mixed bag over the next few days.
Can you bring the summer back, please, Jen?
I'll try.
Please. We need someone to. That's it. I'm back with the late news at about 10:30. Hope to see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.